The first Solarian warship tore through the upper atmosphere of Xylo Prime like a fist through wet paper, and the hive cities below had exactly 9 seconds to understand what was happening before the bombardment began. Columns of white fire dropped in perfect geometric sequence. The swarm scattered. It didn't matter. The Solarians weren't aiming at soldiers. They were aiming at everything. 6 weeks earlier, Ambassador Delin Vasek had spilled lukewarm synth coffee across her dress uniform 30 seconds before her first address to the Astral Coalition High Synod. She dabbed at the stain with her sleeve, swore once, and walked out to face a chamber designed to make lesser species feel small. It worked. The vaulted hall stretched upward into a controlled atmosphere column where Vargas delegates drifted on thermal currents, their translucent wings catching refracted light from 3 artificial suns. Below them, the lumina pulsed in clustered formations along the curved benches, bioluminescent, silicon-based, communicating in flickers too fast for unaugmented eyes. And in the deepest alcove, still and watchful, the Xylo delegation sat encased in their chitinous exoframes, compound eyes tracking Vasek's every step. She wore the diplomatic seal on her collar, a small circle of brushed platinum stamped with an open hand, the universal Solarian sigil of non-aggression. Every species in the chamber recognized it, and every species in the chamber, she knew, had already drawn conclusions from it. The Vargast had been first. Their intelligence brief leaked to Solarian channels within days that classified humanity as category null, no demonstrable threat capacity. The Lumina followed with their own designation, passive collective, suitable for observation. The Xylo didn't bother with formal classification. Their ambassador had simply looked at Vasek across the chamber floor and flexed one barbed forelimb, a gesture their cultural database translated as amusement. Vasek had smiled back, politely, the way humans smile when they're keeping count. Truth is, the Solarian Admiralty had planned for this. Every soft-spoken word, every unarmed envoy ship, every refusal to participate in coalition military exercises, all of it was calculated, not weakness, architecture, the kind built so carefully that when it finally moved, no one would see the weapon underneath until the walls were already falling. And for 5 weeks, it held. See, Vasek attended summits, brokered minor trade agreements, and let every faction in the coalition grow comfortable with the idea that the newcomers from the Third Arm were exactly what they appeared to be. Then the Xylo swarm launched 1,200 warships directly at Prime Terra. The swarm hit Prime Terra's orbital perimeter at full speed, expecting atmospheric entry within minutes. What they got instead was a defense grid that had been dormant so long the Coalition's own sensor networks had cataloged it as decommissioned infrastructure. It wasn't decommissioned. 1,200 Xylo warships met a layered kill zone that activated in sequence, orbital mines first, then directed energy platforms, then something the Solarian military had never shown anyone, a networked array of kinetic accelerators buried in the planet's own moon, firing tungsten slugs at a fraction of light speed. The first wave of the swarm disintegrated in under 4 minutes. The second wave tried to scatter. The accelerators tracked them anyway. By the 9th minute, Prime Terra's sky was streaked with falling debris that burned white-hot on re-entry, and the Xylo invasion fleet had ceased to exist as a coherent fighting force. And then, the part no one in the coalition had modeled for, the Solarians didn't stop. Within 72 hours, a counteroffensive fleet jumped into Xylo-controlled space. Not a patrol, not a deterrent force. A full expeditionary armada, weapons hot, already firing before the jump signatures had finished cooling. They burned through 3 Xylo border systems without slowing down. Hive stations broke apart under sustained bombardment. Supply lines collapsed. The swarm, for the first time in its collective memory, felt something it had no biological framework for: fear. The first Solarian warship tore through the upper atmosphere of Xylo Prime and the hive cities below at exactly 9 seconds to understand what was happening before the bombardment began. Columns of white fire dropped in perfect geometric sequence. The swarm scattered. It didn't matter. The Solarians weren't aiming at soldiers. They were aiming at the capacity to ever try again. Breeding spires, command clusters, resonance hubs that linked billions of Xylo minds into a single tactical consciousness. One by one, they went dark. By the time the Coalition High Synod convened an emergency session, there was nothing left to save. Vasek stood in the same chamber where she'd once worn synth coffee on her sleeve. The Vargast had stopped drifting. The Lumina had dimmed to almost nothing. The Xylo alcove was empty. She spoke for less than 3 minutes. "You mistook a containment protocol for a cultural weakness," she said. Her voice didn't waver. "Our pacifism was never surrender. It was the lock we built to keep ourselves in. You broke it, and now you've seen what was on the other side." No one responded. She touched the diplomatic seal on her collar, the open hand, the brushed platinum, then turned and walked out the same way she'd walked in. Quietly, without permission. The Coalition reclassified the Solarians that afternoon. The new designation had no category name, just a threat index number so high the automated filing system flagged it as a data error. Vasek returned to her quarters, set the seal on her desk, and poured a fresh cup of synth coffee. She drank it slowly this time. Outside the station viewport, cargo shuttles resumed their routes, trade frequencies hummed back to life, and the Solarian diplomatic channel reopened as if nothing had changed. The seal sat on the desk where she'd left it, open hand, facing up. Still platinum, still polished. But the hand looked different now. Not offering, not welcoming, just open, the way a fist looks 1 second before it closes.